Despite the title of this video, this is probably going to be the most positive analysis of Drake's Iceman 3 video and songs that he dropped 2 days ago. So strap in. This is despite my consistent and never-ending anger at Drake for being a gambling groomer whose goal is to entrap the young and vulnerable into a life of debt and gambling addiction in the most insidious way possible. This is despite my anger at him as an anti-free speech activist and a lawsuit enthusiast. This is despite my wariness of him becoming even more and more and more MAGA as every single day turns. Despite all of those things, I actually like a lot of things about the Ice 3 movie and its songs, and I am here, yes, to criticize it, to clown on it a little bit, but also I think maybe the hate's gone too far, and this is probably the most interesting thing we've seen from Drake in quite a while. So you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, Skye, stop being a funny guy over there. You're saying it's positive, but I see the title. But let me explain to you where it comes from. There's a chance that in the future, people are going to be watching this video, and they're not going to understand like what a Bobby Althoff is. But that's where the title comes from. You see, in the last year or so, since losing the beef, Drake has really made this shift towards only speaking with, or primarily speaking with, white, super privileged, talentless, charismaless, successful, white, supremacist adjacent streamers and influencers. Those are the only people he talks to. XQC, Aiden Ross, and just last week he released this interview with somebody named Bobby Althoff. Now, if you're here like 5 years or 10 years in the future, you're really gonna have to dig into the archives to figure out who this person was. But right now, she's fairly, I don't know, I guess relevant. And this interview itself, I wasn't gonna make a video on it. I will just say briefly, is probably the most aggravating thing I've ever tried to watch. I'm being serious. Like I watched it for about half hour of it, maybe more. I don't know. I had it on in the background. What made it so amazingly frustrating is that it was two people who thought they were being flirty and sexy, but were just being unfunny and uncharismatic. It reminded me of like, you ever watch like dating shows back in the day? Where you have two strangers who meet and they try to have this kind of flirting with like the worst kind of double entendres. Bachelor number 2, what would we eat if we went out to dinner? Are you asking me what I would put in your mouth? And then they kind of laugh. That level of like really bad, silly double entendres that are supposed to be sexy and risque, but are only sexy and risque because it's like on at 2:00 in the afternoon and you're homesick with asthma, So like the whole thing is like you're sitting at a restaurant and you're overhearing a couple right next to you that just has no chemistry and they just keep flirting. Speaking of Bobby Althoff, the world owes Hawk Tuah an apology. I think Hawk Tuah is actually really good at what she does. I mean, not the crypto coin stuff, but like the interviews, Hawk Tuah's got charm, okay? Hawk Tuah brings something to the game. Anyways, that interview was like watching Michael Scott go on a date with a different Michael Scott. And and they were just trying, anyways. And I'm not even going to get into the code switching when he starts talking about drugs. Hey, what does that mean? That he code switches into a particular kind of tough guy, stereotypically black voice whenever he talks about drugs in the video, and then the rest of the time he's talking like you're trying to be all soft and sexy. I'm not going to get into that. That's not my bailiwick right now. It's worth mentioning that on the first Iceman stream, he did the same thing when he started threatening people. I'm just saying there's something to be studied there, the linguistic coding of Drake and how he presents himself, and when shows a kind of underlying ambiguity about race. But I'm not going to talk about that right now, okay? I'm going to talk about the fact that the video, the idea that she has when she does these interviews is she's going to be as obnoxious, ignorant, and antagonistic as possible while sort of smiling through it. I don't know. It's like the way that the Mean Girls talk in the movie Mean Girls, but like for a long time to the point where you just lose track. And he asked her, what was it like? Because they spent a week together. I guess they did an interview before and they broke up and got to, I don't know, some high school stuff. I didn't pick up on it. But like he asks her, so what did you think of hanging out with me for this week? What was it like for you to be on the private jets and to see me in Europe and go to all these concerts? And that's where I get the title. She said she was bored, tired, and confused. That's her emotion throughout this entire week. And I like that. I think that's a really interesting way to put a lot of what Drake is doing right now. I think that's a great way to describe the kind of anti-entertainment that whole interview was, and that this hour and a half, however long the stream was, it was a very long stream, how long Iceman 3 was. It's a great way to describe it. It's boring. It just goes on forever. It's tiring because, like, a lot of the themes are like, okay, last year was bad and I really care about my day ones, but no one cares about me. And you're just like, okay, is he in a different city? Is he going to a different location? You're tired. And it's confusing because it's like, what is this about, everybody? Why is he going to a bocce ball center in Milan? What's the idea behind this? But this is where I want to get positive. Just because it's boring, tiring, and confusing doesn't mean it's bad. Gene Dealman is finally being appreciated as one of the greatest movies of all time. It is. Go see it if you've never seen it. It's like 3.5 hours, and that's boring, tiring, and confusing as hell. Now, I'm not saying that Drake's Iceman 3 is Gene Dealman, but that doesn't make it bad. And when I've watched some of the reactions to it from people who are ostensibly Drake fans, you know, Kai Cenat, academics, What's the Dirt, and like their anger and their disappointment, I'm not with them. I think it's better than they do. And that's coming from a guy who, in general, is not appreciated by the Owl fans. And it goes back to a conversation that I was a part of a couple days ago on Culture United. I made a happy return there. It was great. If you haven't watched it yet, punch yourself in the face. It was a great conversation. Really appreciate being back on there. Thanks to everyone who was there. Also, hey, Masito from Rap Roundtable. Number one, Rap Roundtable is a great show. I'd seen it, but I didn't really check it out that much. I spent a lot of the day getting ready, like watching it. It's a really good Rap Roundtable. See that if you want to see people talk about what's happening in a very cool and approachable and interesting way. That's not sort of there's no forced conflict. It's just smart people talking about rap. It's really good. Masito is one of them, and he was on the panel as sort of a Drake defender, and he wins the award for best Drake fan. Just he's totally fair, he's insistent, he doesn't back down, but he also doesn't make weird ad hominem attacks. He is realistic with the good and the bad. Man, I tell you. Anyways, on the Culture United, now, Glasses Malone was on there, and this guy doesn't miss. He made so many great points that just had me going, okay, I'm going to be thinking about that for the next week. Man, he compared Drake to Madonna in a way that is just so deep and awesome that when you hear it, you first go, okay, that's just being mean. And then you think about it one next level and it all kind of connects to you. And you're like, oh my God, this is the best point ever. But that's not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is he said that he's not hip hop. Now, it's not for me to say whether or not he's hip hop, right? I am not hip hop. I am an observer of, a passionate fan of hip hop. I try to be in community with hip hop culture, but given my life experience, where I come from, what I've been through, it's just not my life experience. It's just not who I am, And I'm not trying to pretend. Even though I like talking about hip hop, and even though hip hop has been very good to me, right? You don't have to be in it to appreciate it and talk about it and celebrate it, right? Anyways, and then I was asked, what do I think about Drake? And I went one step further. And this is where I do feel comfortable talking because I study art history. I study the humanities. I am a humanities professor. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who always forgets to do his intro. I said it's not just that he's not a hip-hop artist. It's that I don't think he's an artist. I don't think his goal is to make art. I don't think his goal is to communicate the human condition through some kind of creative endeavor. I was making the argument that he's just becoming an influencer and a gambling groomer. And it makes sense. That's why he's talking to Aiden Ross, who's also a gambling groomer, whose goal it is to make sure people's telephones can help them go absolutely broke, make sure their computers leave them in misery and never able to get above the poverty line, so that a couple of extremely powerful ghouls can get even more money. Okay, that's the goal of online gambling, everybody. By the way, the DraftKings can go... Anyone you see supporting DraftKings, understand they're supporting human misery and death, okay? That goes for you too, Tom Brady. I don't care if I'm from Boston. You too. You also get bumped. Anyways, so, he's a gambling groomer and an influencer. That's how it feels like that's what he wants to do. But I think I have to be fair. I have to be like the Cody Shody. I have to be fair and balanced. This feels like he's trying to make art. If you're being generous, I would say he is making art. If you're being ungenerous, which I'm also known to be towards Drake, for all the reasons I just said, if you're being ungenerous, he is trying to look like he is making art. This being and seeming, those are two different things. I apologize for the sound of the rain. I hope it's pleasant to you on this nice day. I'll try to talk more as an ASMR guy so that you can smash the like bucket quietly. But I think this is where Kai Cenat and academics and especially What the Dirt got upset was when they were getting ready for the build-up to this. Apparently What's the Dirt was given bad information by someone in Drake's camp that there's going to be a red button, which implies, on some level, I guess, that there's some huge piece of information that Drake is holding on to, and when he presses that button, the world will instantly forget about last year. Okay, it's going to be like a Men in Black, like that. The little Banaka spray that makes you forget everything. He's going to go like that. All our memory is going to be wiped, and we're going to wake up, and everything that we feel about Drake is what we feel about Kendrick. And actually, it was Drake at the Super Bowl. And actually, it was Drake in all the Grammys. And Kendrick's a loser driving around in his car, stumbling through his own lyrics, right? Like that. Whoa, how did that red button get pressed? Oh my gosh, Kendrick is in jail. UMG has just been renamed to UMD, Universal Music Drake. And he has everything, and everyone else has nothing. And he's a big, happy boy, and everyone loves him. And he gets to spend all the time he wants in his bed with his mom and women of whatever age and girls of whatever age he chooses. Everything's great when he presses the red button. That's the magical button that's going to save Drake and save all the Drake fans who have just been, for whatever reason, I think it was Sean C. who said, who, for whatever reason, have chosen to take Drake's L's for themselves. Okay? Look, I mean, man, if you have Drake, you didn't do all this stuff. When this button gets hit, everything is redone. But there's no red button. To that, I say, good. Red button isn't art. That's not art. Revealing truths about some foe, dishing gossip about somebody, that's not art. It's not. It's just that's internet stuff. That's influencer stuff. That's internet drama. That's Twitter fodder. That's not art. You ever notice that, like, the more something is popular and talked about on Twitter, the further it is from art? The further it is from expressing the human condition through creative endeavor? That's why we're here. That's why we like music, by the way. We like music because it expresses the human condition through creative endeavor. That's why we like it. We don't like it because maybe we'll find out that Kendrick has a secret baby that he drowned. I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good red button. But to his credit, the reason that I want to give him credit, sort of as an artist in all of this, is I don't think that's what he's actually trying to do. I'm going to be generous to him here. I think a lot of people are thinking he's trying to be Kendrick. In reality, what I think is he wants to be Kanye. And I know, I keep talking about Kanye, but I'm interested in this moment. The shift of 2024, 2025, the reset, as Read My Soul says. This moment of hip-hop just getting better and the values, the original and early values of hip-hop being emphasized over the more modern values of just pure crass capitalism and a sort of tacit anti-blackness. Like, we're missing Drake. He's been taken out. But then at the same time, and unrelatedly, Kanye has taken himself out. And so when I tell you, okay, if I were to say to you, hey, there's an album rollout, and a lot of people are excited about it, and it's quite divisive, and when people watch it, they get bored, tired, and confused. Do you know what you're thinking of? You're thinking of... this is supposed to be cool. Yes. You're thinking of that. At least I am. Aren't you thinking of the Donda rollout? Doesn't it feel similar to when we were sitting around watching a live stream of a bed and like a weird pointy suit that costs $10,000, a weird pointy suit that costs $10,000. Doesn't it feel that way? How Donda-ish is this? Because boring, tired, and confused is actually a brave thing to do. Drake knows how to not be boring, tiring, and confusing, but I like it. I think it's nice that he's trying to do something weird. Now, the problem is, when we were watching Kanye, or when I was watching Kanye, and I was watching The Bed for 45 minutes, wondering what was going to happen, he had earned my trust as an artist. As a human being, maybe not, but as an artist, this is, I still believe, the greatest artist of this century in any genre, in any medium, period. Okay, I still believe that, despite the fact I don't think he's in his right mind and he should probably be ignored right now. Okay, but still, like, you trusted him. The problem is Drake hasn't earned that trust. He hasn't earned the trust as like an artist who does what he wants in defiance of his fans. He did once with that Honestly Nevermind album, which I still think is his best album this decade. But like, other than that, he's just like, okay, he's just going to go back. He's testing their fans and he's pushing their patience, but he has developed these fans on the principle that artists who test your patience are dumb. That the best thing to do is just do whatever people want. That selling records is the best metric by which one can judge art. And you don't sell records by boring people, by testing them, and by being confusing. But still, I like it. I like it. I like the Donda rollout. I get it that who wants to sit there and watch this whole thing for hours and hours and hours of this weird split screen and all that, but why not? Why not do something interesting? Why not have some minimalism? Throw some minimalism in there. Why not have some symbolism that's, you know, pretty on the nose, but also kind of hard to parse? But then we get back to the goddamn red button, because he keeps talking about it. And we have this Pinocchio stuff. And the problem is, what undercuts all of this artistry is that it's unclear if he's being so vague and so obscure and opaque with his art because he's trying to be an artist who's following his muse and doing what he wants, or if he's just trying to be more mysterious before he presses the red button. Oh. Kendrick runs a dog coat factory. Oh, did you know that? That's true. Yeah, in Compton. He has a place where people bring in dogs to a shelter, and you think it's Kendrick's dog shelter, but actually turns them into coats. Yeah, that's true. Right, that's the red button right there. You know, like the idea is that, like, the weirder it gets, the more complicated the what's ARG, alternate reality game? The alternate reality game is going to get. It becomes a code to decipher as opposed to an avant-garde art experience. But I don't know. That's just how I feel. But I mean, are we being honest? It's kind of cool, isn't it? It's kind of cool. It's like because he's making all these movies in different places in Europe, and it's like he's like an artsy kid who goes on a junior year abroad, and he like makes a home video, and he shows it to you, but you know, he made it an iMovie, okay? He took some time on this thing, and it's not just pictures of his friends in front of the Leaning Tower of Pisa or whatever. It's like this cool kind of artsy thing that he puts together, like, oh man, there's this dope bocce place that my host family took me to, like bocce balls, like these old Italian dudes, dude. Oh, it was so lit. They were just playing bocce ball, and like you could just like watch it, like, oh man, it was so lit. And I had some espresso, but they call it doppio over there. I had some doppio. It was dope. Oh yeah, check out this video, okay? And not for nothing, the Kanye thing, Milan, Italy, where he recorded what, Vultures 1 and 2, or part of Vultures 1. That big stadium that you see, that's San Siro, where the two Milan teams play. Like Inter Milan plays at San Siro, and San Siro is where the ultras sing their songs, and the ultras that sang along with Carnival, they all came from there. I mean, it's very clearly Kanye coded. They're even chanting in Italian "Vaffanculo," which is a swear about Italian swear. I don't know much Italian. Io non ricordo il colo mio, essendo così sporco. You know, I know a little bit of Italian. Dove mi fratello? Troppo cipolli. You know, that's about all the Italian I know. But vaffanculo is a very famous one because that just means go F yourself. I mean, I think actually in your butt. And that's a part of the Interista Vaffanculo. That's a chant that the AC Milan fans would chant at the Inter Milan. So like there's two teams that play in Milan, right? And it's called a derby. It's spelled derby, but it's called derby because English people don't know how to pronounce their own language. So in this derby, you have the two different sides of two different teams, and like they hate each other, and they sing this song, Interista Vaffanculo. I'm not going to go too far, but this is my gift to you. What's the dirt? What's the dirt? Are you doing one of these things? You doing one of the things where you break it down? Hey man, keep going. That's cool. That stuff's cool. Insulting great people, not cool. But the bit where you go too far, no, go ahead. Treat everything like it's too deep. I like it. I think you can make an argument that if Kanye is represented by Inter Milan, then here we have Drake with all of his motion singing his song, which is the AC Milan, which is the other team that plays there. So he's taking the other side. What's the term? It's kind of interesting how he's taking the side of AC Milan versus Inter Milan. I don't know. I'm going too far. I didn't want to go too hard with the accent because I love Canada. I don't want to make fun of Canadians. He said in a video where, anyway, hey, look, hey, all right? This is what I'm using as my coaster, all right? I've had this album for a long time. Cardinal really is official. This is a good album, by the way, if you want to listen to some old school Toronto rap. So, there's some cool stuff here. You know, like the split screen where you're like waiting to see when the Pinocchio character is going to show up. And like, it's cool because it's like there's these cameras located everywhere and it builds up tension because you don't know when this horrific doll-like character is going to attack. It's Five Nights at Freddy's. That's what it is. But instead of Freddy Fazbear, it's these Pinocchios. Again, just not for nothing. But is it just me? Do you know what I see when I see these little Freddy Fazbear guys? I see. One second. How do I do this? Next slide. I just see the Pokios. You know, the Pokios from Super Mario Odyssey. They stick their nose out there. I don't know if it's just me. That's what I see. I see the Pokios. But anyways, next Halloween's least hot costume is going to be this Pinocchio thing. But I like it. I like the suspense. I think it's fun, even though I don't think the Pinocchio thing is interesting, and I think it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculously stupid conceit. It is at least an interesting costume. It does build up some suspense in this movie, this kind of third man style chase through a city. And there's lots of Italian music in here because, he went junior year abroad, and his host families, like the dad had this really great collection of like cool old Italian music. And this is Parole by Mina, a very famous song by a very famous singer. And of course that just means words, which might, hey, are you watching? What's the dirt? Because I'm going to give you another one. Okay. If the lyrics mean words in Italian, it's kind of interesting that, like, I don't know how many times she sings parole. I don't know if she sings it 36, 37 times. But she keeps saying the word words, and, like, that's what his claim is, that, like, there's no one got to him. He cannot be hit, right? It's just words against him, not facts. That's cool. I don't know, that's cool. It's a good song, right? I like exposing people to more European culture that they might not get because of English linguistic hegemony, all right? It is my hope that Drake fans get into some Italian music and Italian culture. Why not? And then we get to the first song. That's how I feel. That's just how I feel. It's kind of a sleepy song, but it's solid. I like it. I like the way he sings in the beginning. I don't care if he's like insulting LeBron or whatever. You watch other stuff for that. It's cool. It's just a sad man driving around whose only friends are Bobby Althoff and the rest of the gambling groomers at stake and Happy Dad, And he's driving around. And let's just divide these lyrics up because I think these lyrics are the best and the worst of Drake all at once. Beats like this will make me feel like my soul's free. Man, Drake, I want to believe you. Matter of fact, I'm going to choose to believe you. If for nothing else than just to honor the fact that Maceo, that's MA$IO, just how well he defended you in such a respectful way that, like, Maybe Drake does actually like rap music and art. Maybe he does care about this at all. And that lyric, there's a good beat. It's sparse and it's funky. I could see if you were a real artist, if you were a real artist, you could like hear this beat and just say, yeah. And then the next line, they pay me to speak from the heart. They think my soul is free. So we know that Drake's soul is not free. It costs about $100 million a year, and the check is signed by someone named Ed Craven, the CEO of Stake. So that's how much it costs. In case you were wondering, what does it cost? That's what it costs. So there you go. His soul's not free. That's a lot of money for a soul. You know? It is. All them summers as slappers, baby, you owe me. This is right into the mind of Drake. That the support he gets from his fans and the fact that people like his music mean that people owe him something. Like, that's a fascinating idea, right? Like, imagine if, I don't know, John Lennon was like, you owe me your love because you used to love me. I mean, that's not how anything works, but that's his mentality. I mean, who owes him? Probably would slow me down if I carry my trophies. Yes. More corny, straightforward Drake lines. We know he wrote that because it's corny, but it's funny. It's cool. Why not? Everybody, Professor Skye officially declares this is a good Drake lyric. Probably would slow me down if I carry my trophies. Maybe when no one's around, I'll rap like my old me. And that's the whole thing. Like, that's the nature of the song. Who is he? What should he do? Who am I? That's what he's doing. He's driving around. I used to put chains on all the necks of my broskies, my OGs. Drake. Remember in Arrested Development when George Michael told Tobias to like just record himself because he doesn't realize how many things that he says that sound off and are sort of like explicitly homoerotic, and Tobias records himself. I didn't know I was going to talk about this. Is popping up, so I don't have the lyrics right here. So even if I have to take one in the butt for the team, I will suck a chubby or something like that. And then he listens to it. He goes, oh, Tobias, you blowhard. The point is this. He doesn't know how he sounds. And that's kind of how Drake is, too. Like, if you're being accused of being a colonizer and a culture vulture, don't talk about how you put chains around the necks of your friends. If you get credit, if you said in a lyric about setting the slaves free, don't put these thoughts into our head of you putting chains around the necks of your friend. Now you might be saying, Skye, you're going too far. I'm not going too far. These are his words. These are things he's been accused of. Why is he adjacent? You know, if Kendrick came out with a song and one of the lyrics was like, you know, I hit it hard like Ike Turner, right? If you had some sort of song that's like, my beats slap like pimps or something, you'd be like Kendrick, don't remind us of these accusations because these are the accusations. Anyways, we'll get to more of that soon. And then the whole bitter second part, you know, rappers turn dusty and everyone just fall in love with me. I really did F up the summer, not the same way I F'd up last summer. Hey, he's taking some accountability for messing up. Nice. I like the third part, the weird avant-garde, low, buzzy beats. It's cool. And then we get to Lake Como, the absolute highlight of this whole thing. Lake Como is my favorite thing that Drake has released since, honestly, Nevermind. Because he's trying to be Ye in a real way. He's showing the artistic process. He's opening up and he is showing us what it is like when he's driving around listening to a beat and trying to figure out his lyrics. Now, provided that he actually wrote these lyrics and they weren't written by a ghostwriter, I believe they were written by him. I do believe he is a good artist who is capable of making good art when he's not trying to do all this other horse hockey. You know, even the way he kind of like fuzzy, huzza, you know, that's kind of that Ye sound. But still, he's showing his craft. He is showing that he can be a rapper who cares about what he does. It's him at his purest. Lake Como, cigarette boat, cashmere socks, cashmere coats. Last year was funny, had bear jokes. Now see me in person and they choke. I like it. You know, cigarette boat, Lake Como, it's his flossing style. It's cool. And the beat, I spent forever trying to figure out where have I heard this beat before. And it's not exactly the same, but it's very similar to the instrumental that Yoda does breakdancing to on the episode 2 or episode 3 DVD. There's a little bit where I think it's episode 3 where Yoda does some breakdancing in the Jedi Temple, and there's this like beat in the background. Watch it. You'll see. I'm right. It's also, by the way, the same instrumental from The Roots' Don't Say Nothing, which that video includes Black Thought driving around in a car. Anyways. And then we get the Pinocchio at the dinner table. I'm not going to, listen, leave that to What's the Dirt to break down what it all means, that there's 4 Pinocchios, which is interesting because a table has 4 legs, and when Kendrick was eating the day before he got arrested secretly, the table had 4 legs. No, I'm not going to do that. But I will say that they spell out the word legacy, but before they get all the way to the word legacy, it looks like legal, Legal. Anyways, interesting. And we get this whole bit like this model sitting on a chair, watching the video project on the wall. Pretty lady, you know? That's cool, I guess. But then he's like rapping back home in his Fighting Irish freestyle, fireplace. I don't know. And you got some Pinocchio. Then we get the Somebody Loves Me Part 2. This weird sort of like, it's trash. This is trash. It's not good. This one's not good. Cash Cobain, I don't know. You tell me that Cash Cobain's good. I'll give it a shot, I guess. But I do the opposite. I look at my phone every day and I just say, don't play Cash Cobain. That's just how I feel. But maybe he's good and I don't know. But I don't know. I'm slizzy, drizzy. No, you're not. But it's okay. Then we get these cool Italian songs with these drum beats added. And then there's a really cool image of Pinocchio standing on top of the ice pile. Give the man credit where it's due. The image of a hallway filled with ice and then Pinocchio standing on top of it is a strikingly well-composed image. Congratulations to Drake for making something visually interesting. Okay, and then we go to this bit where he goes to an opera house. He's like walking around and there's a guy with a ponytail and an empty chair, Clint Eastwood at the RNC style. This is where we get those soccer chants. It's like ambitious and neat, but also it's just kind of empty. Everything's just kind of empty, this empty chair. Later we come back to the same place, but everyone is in these little arches at the theater, like there's someone standing there. You know what this looks like. You know what this looks like, right? It's time to meet the Muppets. It's time to start the show. I couldn't get that out of my head. And then even with the Pinocchio. Yay! And performing tonight is Drake and Pinocchio. Yay! You know how Kermit does the flappy arm? The flappy arm. Okay. Anyway, I like this beat. And then he goes into the club and it's cool and it's claustrophobic and you got these lights. And I'm just, this Doghouse, the song with Yeet, how easy would it be for me to take the negative side and just say, what is this, dog shit? I thought about it. I thought about it real hard, because that would hit hard. People would say in the comments, and please feel free to comment this in the comments, dog shit, Skye, that's cold. But do an asterisk instead of an I so that it doesn't become a hidden message. Dog shit, Skye, that's cold. But Doghouse is a good song. It's a good song. It's a good song because Drake does what he does well, which is have a symbiotic, if you are being generous, it is a symbiotic relationship with a younger artist, which means he helps to give clout, they help to give him youth and relevancy. Kanye did the same thing, much better, but still. So symbiotic, or if you're being ungenerous, vampiric relationship with a younger artist where he makes a song that kind of sounds like one of their songs, but also sounds like someone who's already hot but is on the way up. And I love the stutter step in the bass. Man, it's a good song. I like it. It's a good song. 1 second, though. Drake, remember what I said about, like, don't mention things that make people think about things you're accused of? Is there a lyric in this song where you talk about a little girl's trip? Little girls trip, little photo dump. Yeah, what? I understand what you mean. I'm not being intentionally obtuse. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about sometimes when women go on a trip, they call it a girls trip. This is presumably about a short in duration trip amongst a bunch of presumably young women. I'll give you the credit of saying that you're probably singing about people at the age of consent or older going on a trip, and then I suppose meeting Drake, and then I suppose taking lots of photos, and then I suppose putting those photos on Instagram or some similar social media app called a photo dump. But just stay all the way away from talking about little girls. Stay away from talking about little girls. Because when I heard the song for the first time, and I'm not exaggerating, I thought, is Drake talking about going on a trip with little girls? I think that's what I thought he was saying. Ooh, the rain's coming down. These clouds are Drake fans. They don't like what I'm saying. So just as my piece of advice to you, in case you're watching, Drake, but you're not. Dear God, I hope not. If you're watching this, then things are worse than than I anticipated. Stay away from talking about little girls. Why did you do an interview with someone named Bobby Altoff? I don't want you talking to any Bobbies, because then people think about Millie Bobby Brown. I don't want you when people say, "What's your favorite Lil Wayne song?" I don't want you saying Millie. I don't want you saying Brown. I don't want. What's your favorite Eminem color? Brown. I don't want to hear that. No Millies, no Bobbies, no Browns. Also, somewhere on these songs, he talks about being 18 years at the top. Don't even mention the age of consent, because when people are thinking about you in this ways, that's what they're going to think. The whole thing ends with the song Iceman, full Ye style. It's like Bound 2 or something. It's like Charlie Wilson singing, you know? And he goes into this room and he talks about having his love locked down. Seriously, how Kanye coded is this thing? And he gets cornered by the Pinocchios, and as he turns away, he appears to give up. But he's not giving up, everybody, because he has the bag that he's had the whole time. What's in the bag? You know what's in the bag. It's going to be a red button. It's going to be stupid. They want you to go, how's Drake going to get out of this one? Tune back to the same Drake channel, same Drake time to see how Drake beats the 3 Pinocchios. Even in the song, he says, I'm going to freeze the world. I don't know if I got Batman on the brain, but this is getting kind of corny, because I would say this reminds me strongly of Mr. Freeze, as played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, in the underrated yet still difficult to watch Batman and Robin movie by Joel Schumacher, where he just has all these freezing puns. I get the sense that this album, because he says, freeze the world, like this album, if Drake is not careful, I am just going to listen to it and just picture, stay cool, Batty boy, chill. The Iceman cometh. That's an actual up there. That's an actual thing from the right there. That's an actual thing from the movie where he literally says, the Iceman cometh. He might end up in that territory. But anyways, that's enough of my prattling on about the day. I've got a nice Saturday to return to. I was going to probably move some wood chips in the back there, but looks like I'm not doing that because it's raining. But you tell me, are you with me that this is actually better than Drake fans think? That this is actually some of Drake's most interesting work of the past little while? All right, well, until next time, there's Gamma.